Hey everyone, thanks for being on the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast, where we try to bring you what's the positive things that are happening in public education today. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about at the beginning of the school year, because school is right around the corner, is attendance to school. What are the rules? What are the laws around coming to school and meeting a certain amount of days and so forth? So to help me with this topic, I have brought on retired truancy judge John Payton, and he's been on before. This is his second time with us. And then Dr. Charles Nix, who headed up the attendance practices for Allen High School. And feel free, gentlemen, as you go around and talk a little bit about your experiences, to correct anything that I may have left out or said incorrectly.
Well, first of all, Dr. Good, thank you so much for having us on your podcast. Always fun. I love the graphic, by the way, the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast. So I got to mention that. I just love that.
Well, thank you.
Well done, Dr. Good.
I had some help.
Yeah, just a little. But been a truancy judge for 28 years in the Collin County area. Had probably 5 of the largest high schools in the state of Texas that would come through the court, and worked with them on development of ideas and ways to help encourage young students and parents to finish high school, go from the classroom to commencement, and seeing over 98,000 kids and working in the legislature for, series of years on attendance laws. So super excited to be here today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Good, again, thank you for asking us to come out here. And I retired from public education after 38 years as high school principal at West Mesquite High School, Rockwell Heath, and then a house principal at Allen High School. And so my last 12 years were dealing with truancy issues, and that's how Judge Payton and I became so acquainted and such good friends, and helping parents to migrate the truancy laws in the state of Texas. And there's a little bit of confusion. If you look at that truancy chart, there's like 51 steps, and oh my goodness, to follow that flow chart is just arduous at best. And so our call is to help kids be successful, to get them from the classroom through the courtroom to commencement, because that's what it's all about, student success.
So you both mentioned that you're retired, but you're relatively young. And so what have you done to sort of help Texas schools become better at the attendance process?
So John and I, back in October, started talking about, so what's next? What's the next phase? Because he knew I was retiring, and I knew he was going a different direction from being the JP. And so I floated this idea out there in October, and then we revisited again in November. And then as December got around, then Judge Payton goes, Dr. Nix, I think you're on something. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So Payton Nix and Associates, LLC, came out of that, and we've been in business since January. And so we are celebrating our 7 months together very quickly.
We have an anniversary.
Yeah, we have an anniversary coming up. And so we're going around helping public schools, charter schools, and ISDs on how to address communication, building relationships, addressing student needs, all the forms, processes, and systems behind truancy and truancy laws, and then the truancy tribunal, helping school districts understand that they really have more power than JPs and municipal courts when it comes to addressing the myriad of reasons to why kids don't come to school.
So the thing that attracted me to your company, it's two, well, there are a lot of things. One was the fact that it's just not you coming and saying, here's what you need to do. You met with our PEAMS people, the PEAMS people that actually handle attendance, that teachers put in the attendance. The PEAMS people make sure it's on time, because there's state laws around with time. Our audience does not understand how many laws there are around the framework of students coming to school.
Oh, absolutely.
And it being documented and recorded by a certain time and so forth. But you also met with our teachers and our staff to help them understand how much responsibility they bear in making sure kids want to come to school. And then the next thing that I liked was your 13-page resource list. And we're not just here to make parents feel bad when their kid hasn't been in school for 3 days or 17 days. We're here to figure out what the problem is, and you have brought those resources to us. So let's talk a little bit more about that. First of all, I think our parents need to know a little bit about the state laws around attendance. Can you share that with us?
We can. First of all, the Section 25 of the Education Code, if you're a parent and you're wanting to read it for yourself, I don't want to believe Dr. Good, I don't want to believe Judge Payton, I don't want to believe Dr. Nix. Go to Section 25 of the Texas Education Code. That is where it will tell you all about the admissions process, attendance process, and what is excused, what is not excused for an absence. Of course, you start off with 25085, which is required attendance. And that's going to tell you that if you are 6 years of age or older, you're required to be in school through your 19th birthday. If your 19th birthday hits in the summer, not during a school term, then you don't have to enter school in your 19th year. However, if you enter it in August, then you must enter into your 18th year and fulfill it through your 19th birthday. And so from 6 to 19, you're required to be in school. There are ways that you can miss school legally without having any issues. In 25086, it explains that. It explains that if you have an absence that's going to take up multiple days. So let's say I have the flu and I know I'm going to be out 3 or 4 days. Then my job is to go get a medical certificate that exempts me from my attendance at school. So it's not what we call an excuse note or a sick note. It's altogether different, and it's required by statute, and that is a medical certificate stating what your diagnosis is, your prognosis is, what the treatment plan is, and when you are to return back to school. And then the parent is to go turn that note in even before you return back to school, so that the school has that so they can prepare for you coming back and getting you caught up and getting your work to you. Then you have the element of what an excused absence is, and that's Section 25087. And the school district may excuse an absence if it's the building principal or the superintendent or a teacher, depending on what the excuse might be. However, the school district shall excuse an absence if they have a healthcare professional note. Now, that's not for a full day. That's if, let's say, I've got to go to the dentist and I'm leaving at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I'm back at 11:30. Bring my note, turn my note in. The law requires I do my makeup work. If I don't do my makeup work, the school is not to excuse that absence. And so it's a twofold. You not only got to go get your note and turn your note in, but you also have to do your makeup work for the class that you missed. And once it's accounted for, then that absence can be excused. If you have an appointment at 12 o'clock and it goes till 3 o'clock and school's out at 3 o'clock, just bring your note back in and do your makeup work, and the absence is excused. There's no reason to return back to school because there's no more school day left. And so a little common sense probably will carry you a long way on that. However, in the state of Texas, the law in 2014 changed. It was enacted in 2015, where children are no longer held under the Education Code for failure to attend school. Now they're held under the truancy laws under the Family Code. And so what that's done is that's created a very arduous, very long process. The idea was the state of Texas said we really don't want kids being taken to court. We would prefer they not be taken to court. So then they wrote Section 250915 of the Education Code, which is called truancy prevention measures. And it doesn't give the school district an opportunity or a may. It says you shall impose these truancy prevention measures on these students. And those measures are actually the same measures that a court can take in a court proceeding. In fact, it's even more so on the school's side of taking control of their truancy issue to the point where they allow a peace officer, certified peace officer, to go and detain a student and bring that student back to school. The court doesn't have the power to do that, but the school district has the power to do that. And so, and I say school district, the charter district, or the ISD district. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking public schools. Mm-hmm. Private schools are exempt. Homeschooling is only exempt to the point where you provide proof of homeschooling in your home district if required, which under Leaper, which is the case that created homeschooling in Texas, does allow the school districts and the charter schools to require of those students. And so 250915 has created the same elements that the court can issue. So what are some of those elements? Require you to be in school. Require you have a doctor's note or school nurse to verify illness, because you can use a medical professional. Require that you may very well have to do some community service. In fact, it's very spelled out in that section of the law that the school district can require school-based community service or out-of-school community service. Yeah. You can require services now that these students go and participate in, whether it be on-site or off-site. And it's anything that the school district believes will help engage that student's attendance and get them back on campus. So an example would be if I'm doing drugs and those drugs are a direct reason for me not being in school, then under the truancy prevention measures, you can tell mom, hey, you need to take this student, or dad, take this student over to an outpatient program and get an assessment. You need to get counseling done. This is part of your truancy prevention measures. You know, well, I don't have an alarm clock. Well, the truancy prevention measure is you're going to go get an alarm clock now. And so in a nutshell, that would be the state law and how it would apply to parents and students. A parent is not exempt, and a parent can now still be charged with criminal charges with fines that begin at $100 for day one. And if there are 5 unexcused absences, it follows the trend of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, $100 individually up to 5 charges. Then after 5 counts, it's $500 per count. So Dr. Nix and I came together and we created the Truancy Tribunal, which would hopefully prevent parent and student from going to court at all, the school having to go to court at all, and allow that parent to kind of have either more information because they didn't know, or a wake-up call. Hey, you know what? This is serious. I need to take it seriously. And the school's done a good job of intervening at 9 unexcused absences rather than 17 or 26. Yeah.
So, Dr. Nix, can you talk a little bit about the tribunal process?
Oh, absolutely.
And what it should look like in a school?
Absolutely. So, again, it's all back to this pyramid, this triangle between a partnership between the school, the parent, and any outside agencies and resources to help the kids. So I think a lot of people lose. They get focused on, oh my goodness, I'm going to be fined. Oh my goodness, it's a criminal misdemeanor against the parent. It's a civil against the child. The whole purpose of the tribunal and the truancy prevention measures is let's slow down. Let's figure out what's going on. There's no child that purposely is going, from kindergarten, I'm just not going to go to school. Their friends are there. Their social network is there. And so kids want to come to school. So let's find out what is interfering with the child coming to school. What social, emotional, physical, psychological needs are there, and you get the team together. So it is a definite team approach, and that's what the tribunal is about. Let's have the kids sign in. Let's have the kid, if it's an academic issue as well, start attending tutoring. Let's have kids do community service, because kids, especially teenagers, like to only focus on themselves. They don't focus on the big picture.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, now.
Never heard that, Dr. Nick.
Yes.
I know.
Are you sure? I thought that was old men like you and I.
I don't know.
No, maybe not.
38 years has kind of taught me that pretty much holds true.
Maybe. Okay.
And so what's an interesting aspect, it is enlightening, it is enriching, it is an epiphany when this child goes out and does community service. All of a sudden, their self-esteem changes, their whole mantra changes about what they've done to help someone, because they begin to finally realize, oh, I really don't have it that bad. One of the favorite things I used to have is definitely working with seniors. I just enjoyed this so much. You get so many emotions coming across the stage of elation and, oh my goodness, mom and dad have packed my bags, they're moving me out of the house. But you get these kids coming across the stage at commencement time, and you see a light bulb come on that it's beyond me, and I can contribute, and I have this self-worth and this self-esteem. And so the tribunal part is pulling all the central players together to do what's in the best interest of the child. We know all the research that's out there. The income potential is based upon education. You want to obliterate poverty. You want to obliterate all those issues around poverty. It's through education. It will level the playing field.
So that's what attracted me to inviting you to come work with us at Legacy, because we can't just take the approach of, you've been absent too many times, now we're going to suspend you, expel you, whatever. And I think it's clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, since you've had so many schools come through your court, we've tried that. It doesn't work very well, does it?
No, it really doesn't. And the success in court is exactly what we're teaching, school districts now and charter schools now. And even, we've even talked to some admin staff and had conversations. The only way to help a child is to advocate for that child. Now, that advocating doesn't always mean the child gets what they want. It's not about spoiling the child rotten. But in court, and like the schools can do now, like you will do with your truancy tribunal, you will take on this role away from the campus and away from the parent and be looking in from the outside going, what do we need to do to help this young person get back on track? Well, I don't care, Mom, what you're doing. I don't care, high school campus, what you're doing, or middle school campus, what you're doing, or elementary. What do we need to do to get, because we're missing it. The two of you had your chance. You've blown it, and we're here, and we don't want to go to court. We don't want to suspend. We don't want to expel. Nobody wins. We want to work harder to get to the core issue, and we want to form this support group.
So I'm going to summarize what I understand, and then please, please, please correct me if I'm wrong. And that is that there's now two sides to an attendance process. The first side, or the first half, involves trying to correct the problem, figure out the problem at the school level. If by chance, and it's less families along the way, right? We start maybe with, let's say we have 25 families that we're working with within the first 6 weeks of school. And by the time we have actually gone through our process, we're down to 3 families who still are coming chronically either late, because one of the things that we need to get a handle on is not only attendance, but tardies. 3 tardies equals 1 day of attendance, or 1 absence, and we'll keep saying that until everybody remembers it. But if we can't solve the problem with those 3 families, it winds up at the tribunal level, where I'm the magistrate and the families come and the families talk about what's causing them from being able to come to school either on time or at all. The school talks about what they've done, and the schools are starting to understand better how much more responsibility they have in this case of making sure we find the resources necessary to make sure that the absences or the tardies are not happening. And so we're putting as much on the schools as we are the parents. And then the tribunal sets some more interventions. And then for that one family, hopefully not more than that, that one family left that still we haven't helped them meet their needs to the point they're still chronically absent, then that's when we have to send them to real court.
Yes.
Because the tribunal is not a court setting. It may feel a little bit like that, but it's not. But then the second half is where we will have to file truancy in criminal court, and there's huge fines. You sort of, Judge Payton, you sort of minimized it. You said the first $500, that's $500, but by the time our parents would get there, they'd have probably 15 to 20 absences, and that's literally thousands of dollars. Thousands.
Potentially, absolutely.
Yes, potentially.
Well, and the first 5 is $1,500, because it's $100 for 1, $200 for 2, $300 for 3, $400 for 4, $500 for number 5. So you're at $1,500 in possible fines from the court in just your first 5 unexcused absences. And to get to court, you have to have 10. And so now you're talking another $500 times 5. So now you're up to $4,000 potentially in fines and criminal charges on your record. I had parents that would come up to me in the court and would show me an employment background check where there was a truancy charge on their background check and they could not get hired. And so you don't want to have this happen. And so what you're doing for your families at Legacy Prep Academy is Charter Prep Academy, you're giving them one more opportunity here to really try to dig in deep and work with you, the tribunal, to work with the campus, and then work with the family together to alleviate any need to go to court.
Right, because what the message that we want parents to understand is that we don't want to do this. But if we have to, if that's the only way that we can get the attention of a family, then that's what we're going to have to do.
Absolutely. You want to bring parents in earlier. And so once we get that third unexcused absence, then some of the truancy prevention measures come into place. Then if we get to 5 or to 7, then we're counseling. We're trying to really find out what's going on academically and really surround and support that child. Once we get to 9 or 10 and we're going to the tribunal, okay, here's our last effort. We need to really dive in deep to find out why this child is not coming to school. Because kids don't come out of the womb, as Judge Payton says, wanting to be a failure. And so let's figure out what supports that we can put into place before we're left with no other option, because our whole democratic way of life is based upon the education of our populace and the education of the kids. If we want to take them and reach them and get them out of poverty, then it's through education. So this stuff matters. And to the point where we're going to stop everything we normally do and slow down and figure out how to help this kid, because that's what it's about.
Can you talk a little bit about the resource list?
Absolutely.
Yes. So the resource list started off as a one-page resource list with about 10 resources on it with Joan Gura. Joan Gura was the the truancy officer for Plano ISD, and I met her in 1991. I have kept that list now and maintained it, and it's grown from one page with 10 resources on it to 13 pages in a 8-point font, both sides, of resources that are now broken down in food, clothes, medical care, substance abuse training or counseling, regular counseling, educational elements, things like, let's say you have a child with diabetes and you need diabetes education. We have that on that list. Community service that can be done. Homeless shelters for families that are homeless or going to become homeless. Inpatient drug treatment programs, inpatient behavioral centers, like down in Liberty, Texas. We have a center down there that does amazing work with animal therapy. And so kids who are suffering from severe mental illness have a place to go to get healthy and then can be reintegrated back into school. And so you now have and possess that resource list that it is up to date. And it offers services from anywhere from low cost to no cost to insurance to cost. It just depends on what the fit may be. And the purpose of that resource list is to, again, reach out to you and say, okay, put down the walls. Trust us. Yeah, we may have had some bumps along the way on the campus, and you may have felt like they weren't on your team sometimes, but we're in the tribunal now. We don't want to go to court. We don't want criminal charges filed against you. Here's a resource list. Open the book and tell us, point. You don't have to say it even. Just point. And we can provide that resource for you, probably at no cost, and get you where you need to go so everybody can work together to help your child. And so that resource list is a huge olive branch to say, we're here to help. We don't want to hurt anybody.
So Judge Payton's done a great job over these 28 years, and it's really taken a family that's overwhelmed, and then they feel helpless during this moment of crisis. And you go through that whole process of being overwhelmed, helpless to hopeless. And so why would any one of us think that during our moment of crisis, we could go, oh, let's do some research and find out who might be out there to help me? Well, we've put all that together. Judge Payton has put all that together, that when you're in that crisis moment of moving from being overwhelmed, helpless, and hopeless, let us provide some services that are really going to help get your child back on track and actually help heal the family unit, because that's why kids don't come to school. It's a family unit result.
So we don't have much time left. But in this time, let's talk about what that tribunal session looks like.
So it's a formal process. What we've done is we have taken the truancy prevention measures that the state of Texas has passed in law, and where it says the school district shall impose, not may consider, but shall impose at 3 unexcused absences and begin the truancy prevention measure process. Through that process, once you hit 3 unexcused absences, you begin the student behavioral intervention plan. Let's say you have 5 unexcused absences. Now you're probably meeting with a counselor at this point, trying to figure out what's going on. Let's say you have 7 unexcused absences. Now you're getting met with some letters and you're getting met with attendance issues. You got an assistant principal potentially that's going to sit down and meet with you and again issue some more measures to try to encourage your attendance. By the time you get to 9 unexcused absences, you're going to receive a summons, and that summons could be served by the school's officer. It can be served by mail. It can be served in person at your work, and it's going to be a summons, and you're going to be summoned to that truancy prevention measure tribunal. When you get there, you'll have a waiting room. There will be a security officer or certified peace officer that'll come out and talk with you, provide you with some forms, some information. You'll wait your turn. The officer will bring you in to the tribunal room, the truancy prevention measure tribunal room. There'll be a desk, and it'll be 2 desks set in the middle of the room. On one side, you will sit as the parents. The student will stand in the middle, and the high school campus or middle school campus or elementary school campus will be at the table to the right. And then you'll have the tribunal, what we call the magistrate, up at the front. And there'll be a clerk there, a tribunal clerk, and the information will start to pour out. The tribunal magistrate will look out, verify their parties, saying, are you Mr. and Mrs., are you this student? Yes, we are. Okay, well, this is what we're looking at as unexcused absences that need to be addressed, and let them start to address them by just offering that out at the beginning. And then the school will present, the campus will present to the truancy tribunal the information that they have, reports from the teachers, report from the counselors, report from the principal themselves, the assistant principal, grades, attendance, and what they may think's going on. Then they'll look to the parents. What would you like to say? How do you respond to that? What's going on at home? How can we help you be better at this? Then you look at the student and say, this is your opportunity. Be respectful. Tell me what you need. This is what we're here for. Let us help you fulfill whatever you're missing so that you can fill that need and you can come to school on time. And then at that point, the tribunal will issue a truancy prevention measure order saying you are required to do these things, where it says shall impose. I'm now imposing upon you things like community service. It could be things like counseling. It could be threat assessments. It could be write a letter to your third period teacher. It could be, it could be any one of a number of things to help prevent any further truancy from going on. The key is you get input. Parents get input. Student gives input. Campus gives input. And then the tribunal gets to then say, okay, this is the things we can do to help you out.
So in closing, a quick summary, since again, our 30 minutes feels like 5,
It
right?
does.
Wow, it does.
That legacy will be just using the state statutes in a more defined process, more clearly communicated to the parents around what our attendance expectations, first of all, right?
Yes.
And then when they're not met, what will happen when that happens.
Absolutely.
And so we have already a truancy prevention measures one-pager. What happens when you've had 3 days absence or 9 tardies, because 3 tardies equals 1 unexcused absence. What happens at 5 days, what happens at 8 days, what happens at 10 days, and then 15 days or more, that's when you wind up in criminal court.
There you go.
And that's the goal for
that's
us
it.
not to have any of our legacy parents ever attend criminal court. That's our goal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. As always, it's a pleasure having others come in and speak in their area of expertise, in this case, in something as important as what turns out to be student learning. This is all about student learning.
It is.
You know,
is.
when
Dr. Good,
when
it
our
is.
parents don't bring the kids on time to first period, that grade is usually their lowest grade.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Right? So, or when they try to check them out early from last period because they don't want to wait in the dismissal line, that grade is usually the lowest. And those are things that we want to be able to help parents understand, that we're here to educate kids, but they have to be in school the whole day to do it.
They do.
Yeah,
All
they
right,
do.
thank you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Good.
Good.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.